Hello, Yakri here with another Warframe video. This time I'm going to talk about how to level up frames and weapons, since someone requested a video on this topic. So there's generally a couple ways that you can do this efficiently, and I'm just going to talk about the methods I use personally that are actually relatively effective. Obviously, just sticking a weapon in a slot in one of your weapon slots, then running around and letting it acquire XP works, but it's going to take a while, right? Especially depending on the types of missions you do. If you don't want to do that, there are a somewhat more limited set of options for you to actually choose, unless you want to choose something that's, needlessly inefficient, so I'm not going to recommend that, obviously. And that means one of a couple missions. So the most notable one, and this is the only normal mission I'm going to talk about, is a CAD, right? It's on Eris, and it's just a very easy mission. People run it constantly because of its popularity. It's well known in the Warframe community for being good for getting XP. And it has this bonus XP from kills modifier, bonus XP on melee kills modifier, and it's an infested mission, making it kind of easy. Corpus missions, of course, are the hardest, and it's a defense mission, which is nice because you don't have to move around and you don't really have to worry about the objective. The objective has a stupid amount of hit points. It's not going to die. The only way you can fail this mission is if everyone in your squad runs out of revives, right? So, because of that, this is a really safe choice, really safe, comfy choice, especially when you don't have, your stuff leveled up, right? And, people are probably going to be a little bit miffed if you go here and you get completely carried. So I'm going to talk about etiquette a little bit later. But for the most part, this is even very new player friendly. You just go in here, some other people will show up in public matches, just wait around until they do, and kill your way through it for, preferably at least 10 to 20 rounds, right? Okay, so this gets really boring, like really intensely boring. I still do it because it's one of the best ways to quickly level up things when you're focused on leveling up things. However, there are some other good options, especially if you don't want to just grind Affinity, right? So one thing I will mention in general is that you could go somewhere on the star map where you need a rare resource, pick a survival or defense mission, really any endless mission except for interception. There's an asterisk on here in that there are some interception missions that are very good for helping you level up Warframes, right? They're very efficient for Affinity, but they require you to play the missions the right way. And this is just kind of a pain in the ass, right? It may not work out very well with public groups, and it's not very new player friendly. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Because what you need to do is you need to work to stay in affinity range of your party members so you all get XP for the kills, and you can't just casually do that, right? Now, here's the thing. But you do that, and you get rare resources of some resource type you're grinding while getting XP. It's not as efficient as a CAD, but you get some side benefits. Here's the other thing you can do. Fissures, right? Void fissures have better enemy density than normal missions, making them better for XP. From time to time, you'll get void fissures that are going to have particularly good enemy density that are endless. Now, after the first 5 rounds, if I recall correctly, you get the affinity boost, right, for endless void missions. And so if you stay for 20 rounds on one of these missions, you're going to get pretty solid affinity. It often still won't be as good as a CAD, but if you do an axi fissure for the higher level enemies, you can, get 5 fissures completed, or 4 or 5 fissures completed, hopefully, and get a lot of XP while you're doing it. You do, of course, need to be a little bit more particular about the gear you bring, right? Something that would cut it in a CAD is going to make you a dead weight in a void fissure, okay? Potentially. So do keep that in mind. And again, I'll talk more about that in a little bit with etiquette. But these are an option. If you're a little under geared, maybe pick a Neo fissure, like this Neo Survival Mott it's a Heroic Void. This would actually be really hard because it has the 4 times damage modifier. Although I find it to be very fun. Highly recommend doing those for XP. It's my favorite way to do it when those are randomly rolled up. But something like Mobile Defense is actually pretty good as well, because Mobile Defense has a good amount of enemy spawns, and the mission lasts a minimum amount of time. Excavation, level 9 to 10, this is great, right? Especially if you get a group that'll go for a while, so that sort of thing can be a fantastic way to get grant XP. I don't know if Excavation in Void Fissures is endless. I think you would just do it and then you're done. But it'd still be okay-ish, right? Not as good as an actual endless. I don't think it is. I've never done a Void Fissure Excavation, weirdly enough. I've just avoided it since the fissures came out. Okay, so nothing else is really going to be efficient except I actually will recommend leveling in sorties. Same asterisk goes on this as for leveling in fissures, which is that you do need to bring, you know, some good items. But let's say you have like one melee weapon you want to level up, so you bring a good primary and a Warframe, and it collects XP on the side because you don't give a shit about using it, right? And because the enemy density is generally very high, it depends on the mission type, but, you know, especially if it ends like a survival or something, you'll get a good amount of XP doing that. So just, you know, bring your leveling stuff along for tough missions is sort of my recommendation, but, you know, don't only bring your leveling stuff, okay? Now, all right, I'm gonna link in the description to the Warframe wiki page that explains how Affinity gain works. You really should read that if you want to understand how some of the stuff I'm going to talk about here, because adding an explanation for that would probably make the video just ridiculously lengthy, and it's already going to be pretty long. So please read that. If you don't read that, whatever, you can just follow my advice blindly and it'll probably work out well for you. So I've got my newly built Oberon Prime, and I've got my Ignis Wraith, which I'm forming. I've got, you know, 2 Forma on it already. Now, I will point out something here, is that this sort of setup I'm going to initially show is not going to work well if you're low mastery rank, so I'm going to add something to that if you are. But with this weapon, actually, the Ignis Wraith is surprisingly powerful, and I know it's pretty good, and I'm actually not going to have a very hard time on a CAD with it, because it's heat damage, and I've also got some slash procs thrown on here, and I've got a max duration, a split chamber, and that's really enough to actually make this surprisingly effective. As long as I don't die a lot, right? Which goes into the frame build for leveling a frame. If you're leveling a Warframe, the number one thing you should be doing with your mod slots is sticking Vitality on here, right? Because the one way you can actually piss off your teammates, and they'll be somewhat justified for being annoyed at you for this, is to die constantly when you're trying to level up your stuff, okay? And even if you bring a good weapon, if you're constantly dying, you can't use it. And so you're not contributing to the group, and people are, even if you don't give a shit about other people's feelings or being a dick or whatever, they're going to extract and leave the mission, and you're going to have a much harder time getting XP because everyone's fucking quitting out because they don't want to group with you constantly, okay? So, stick Vitality on here. Now, number 2 thing is you probably want to put a potato on this. Maybe you don't, because you don't like the Warframe, or you're low on plat or whatever, but at least squeeze Vitality on here. The reason why Vitality in particular, and I didn't actually show it off like I should have, but if you slap on an aura, you should be able to also fit Vigor or Steel Fiber, right? Or Redirection, right? And it doesn't matter which one of those you do. You could even do Gladiator Resolve, right? More health. But the reason it's Vitality is the most important one. And the reason for that is slash procs and toxic procs. Slash procs ignore your armor, toxic procs ignore your shields, and if you just stick Redirection on a Warframe, even if you're like leveling up mag regular for the first time, you do not want Redirection. And the reason for that is that you'll get toxic proc and just die. And especially in a mission like a CAD, you're gonna get toxic proc all the time. So you need a high HP. This means you're gonna, at the very worst, die infrequently and slowly, right? So it shouldn't be too burdensome for your team members. Now I'm actually gonna go crazy with this. Like, look at this, with Vigor, I have 1,000 HP. Oberon actually has good armor, got some shields. It's gonna be really hard for me to go down. Hopefully I won't go down at all in this mission. You may not be able to do quite this much depending on your mastery rank and depending on like whether or not you want to potato it, but hopefully you can at least squeeze an aura in here, and then that should give you enough to squeeze on Vitality. If you're very new to the game, like Mastery Rank 4, and you can't accomplish that, you know, don't worry about it. Just, you know, some people will cut you some slack because you're low level, other people are assholes, so fuck them. Anyway, so that covers that. Now, suppose you're not Mastery Rank 19 or 20 or 25. You're not level, I guess you're reforming stuff, but, or whatever. And so the Ignis Wraith, you would not be able to even squeeze this many mods on it. You don't have a max duration. It's going to be shit. Your frame's going to be shit. You can barely squeeze Vitality on here. How do you contribute? Well, really easy. You bring at least one good weapon that you have to not be a dick, right? If the only good weapon you have is a primary, how to advise you there? Well, you know, I don't know. You could join a clan, ask some people to power level you. You know, I mean, begging for help works surprisingly well in the Warframe community because people are kind of friendly in-game. Most people, not everybody, obviously. But, what I'm going to do is I'm going to snag, what's working with the decide to snag? One of the ones I haven't powered up too far. We've got it's the static core. Yeah, I got one Forma on this. It's got some mods on it, right? But it's not perfect. Some weapons will be able to get this good just because they have good base polarities right off the bat. This is a nice one because it does a little bit of AoE damage. You probably don't want to bring like just a pistol, right? That you can single target shot with because it'll be of limited use when grinding through a bunch of enemies, but it doesn't really matter. Just bring something to show that you're not a total slacker and you're actually, you know, like you're not trying to just totally mooch off of your teammates. A lot of people will be somewhat justifiably annoyed if you're just 100% mooching off them, whereas if you're trying to help but doing it shittily, I mean, you know, it's more understandable, right? It's more of a, it's unfortunate that you aren't more helpful, but you know, it's not a big deal. You get my drift, right? So let's actually get into the mission now. Is that everything? Yeah. So, you know, you may need to bring one good weapon. And, oh, there's another note here. You know, I have my melee slot and companion slot empty for a reason. This has to do with the Affinity article I'd like you to read. And the TLDR version is that you will get more XP if you don't have anything equipped except the stuff you're leveling, right? And the really brief version, I guess I'm going to explain this a little bit, is that XP goes to the thing that's dealing damage, right? Plus your Warframe. When you kill things. And when your allies kill things, XP is evenly split between all your stuff, right? Or I guess it's not evenly split. I think it's like 50% to your frame, and then 50% divided amongst your non-Warframe things. So unequipping your companion and your melee weapon, that's going to help you gain XP. Unequipping the static core would help me gain XP even faster, right? But I'm going to bring it because there's a lot of people who would need to bring a secondary weapon that's actually good. And you know, it's good to have for a backup. Maybe I misjudged the value of the Ignis Wraith, and I'm going to be just dead weight without that static core. So let's hop into a CAD, and I will show you what we do here. And I mean, at this point, you can pretty much quit this video and go start leveling things. There's nothing else to this that's really going to matter, except that I'll show you how fast the XP goes. I do have an Affinity booster on right now, so it's not going to be quite this fast, but it is pretty speedy. And yeah, that pretty much covers it, right? Don't be a dick comes down, not being a dick, rather, comes down to being able to not irritate your teammates by getting them to revive you all the time. And even if your teammates are assholes, right, they might let you die, and you lose affinity for actually dying, so don't do that. And dealing damage. You should deal some damage. You don't want to deal all the damage, actually. Bringing Mesa and killing everything with my ultimate would prevent my weapons from getting XP. So you don't want to do that either. You just want to be a helpful member of your squad. And, you know, that's that, pretty much. Don't hog the XP. Don't hog the kills. Don't sit in a corner doing nothing. Just, you know, be moderately helpful. Hopefully everyone else in your group will be too, and you'll all have a jolly good time getting a lot of XP. Right. Similar rules go for collecting focus if you want to just grind focus XP, except there's some crazy stuff you can do with stealth multipliers. That's probably a better idea. Fuck it, let's start this. It's probably a better idea than just going to a CAD, and you would want to hog all of the XP, right? All of the kills. If you want to do it in a really friendly way, I mean, come to a CAD with your super high level frame, slaughter everything, and everyone else on your team will get fine XP, right? From that. Alright, in interest of making this video a vaguely sane length, I've decided to skip ahead a little bit. Now, something else I'd like to add in here as we approach the end is that you can also get faster XP gain on weapons by actually killing enemies with the weapon you intend to level, right? If you're killing enemies with the weapon you intend to level, XP goes to the weapon, to the Warframe, right? So it's not split up between all your different weapons you might have equipped. This is a really fast way to level weapons, especially if you're not leveling a Warframe, or not leveling anything else. And so a good way to do this could be if you are, if you have a Warframe like Nova or Banshee or Rhino, right? Take that Warframe and buff yourself to deal more damage with the weapon you're leveling, so it can actually kill enemies while it has a poor number of mod points, right? This is gonna be a little bit harder when you're at lower mastery ranks, but as you get to like 10 plus for weapons you're forming, especially, and you've got a potato in it, this is gonna be a lot more of a viable option to level a specific weapon in your kit more quickly. It can also work well with the idea of leveling on random missions like fissures or sorties or whatnot, right? Bring the weapon to a sortie, boost your damage massively with, say, chroma, and kill enemies in that sortie with that weapon, right? That can be a good way to level up weapons very quickly while doing other things. Same thing goes for Warframes. It actually goes more for Warframes than for weapons, because if you kill an enemy with a Warframe ability, all of the affinity goes to the Warframe. So, if you have the option to mod your Warframe to slaughter enemies in a mission, like if you're leveling Mesa and you've already got her past level 10, you can do that to get a ton of XP. Some Warframes, I think actually Mesa might be included in this, do lose XP to their weapon, like Excalibur's sword, I believe. At least that was the case like a year ago, last time I read up on it, and I don't think they have bug fixed that as far as I'm aware. So, that can be a bit of a problem there, but you know, if you're leveling Mag, if you're leveling Ash, possibly if you're leveling Mesa, I'm not 100% sure if she's included, you can use their abilities to kill enemies and level them up faster. All right, let's look at the last mission results. One of our party members did abandon, and so unfortunately this was actually a really terrible XP run in the ACAD. We only ever got 3 people and 1 guy left after the 5th round. So as you can see, I did almost half the damage, so pretty good setup overall. I would say I'm happy with how I lined that up, but it would have gone a lot better if we'd had 4 people, probably, and we would generally want to go to at least 15 rounds, so that can be a lot better if you're doing that. Okay, I think that pretty much covers everything. Leveling, the best way to level is to just kind of grind that mission over and 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 over again ad infinitum, or possibly some other mission of your preference that has a really similar XP gain on it, right? So not my favorite thing, but unless DE wants to make some big changes to the game, that's going to be the case probably for the foreseeable future. Anyway, best of luck to you leveling up your Warframes and your weapons and your companions and all that shit. Try and have fun with it when you have the opportunity. I, for one, although it's not nearly as efficient, highly recommend the fissure route for leveling stuff. I have a lot more fun with it, but it's not the best way to do it. Anyway, if you like this video, subscribe, send a comment, flame me if you don't like it, you know, that kind of stuff. All that stuff keeps me entertained when I'm just bored here, grinding away and staring at Reddit on another monitor. So, Yakri out.